So, hello guys, welcome to my summary for chapter 9, the transport layer. I have here two parts. We have four parts, which is the introduction, subnetting and IPv4 network, addressing schemes, and the summary. Transport layer protocols. Transportation of data. Roles of the transport layer, responsible for establishing a temporary communication session between two applications and delivering data between them. Provides connection-oriented data stream support, reliability, flow control, multiplexing. Transport layer responsibilities, track individual conversations, segment data and reassemble segments, identify the applications. Conversation multiplexing segments data into small chunks, label data chunks according to the conversation. Transport layer reliability. We have two protocols provided, TCP and UDP. TCP supports reliability while UDP doesn't. We have TCP, supports packet delivery confirmation. There are three basic operations that enable reliability with TCP. Numbering and tracking data segments are transmitted to a specific host from a specific application, acknowledging received data, or transmitting any acknowledged data after a certain period of time. UDP. UDP provides the basic functions for delivering data segments between the appropriate applications with very little overhead and data checking, perfect for applications that don't require reliability. The right transport layer protocol for the right application. TCP is better for databases, web browsers, email clients, and etc. UDP is better for live audio for video streaming, via IP, etc. TCP and UDP overview. TCP features establishing a session, reliable delivery, same order delivery, and flow control. TCP header. The TCP is a stateful protocol. TCP adds 20 bytes of overhead in the segment header. UDP features simple and fast. UDP header. UDP is a stateless protocol. Reliability must be handled by the application. The pieces of communication in UDP are called datagrams. We add only 8 bytes of overhead. Multiple separate conversations. Transport layer separates and manages multiple communications with different transport requirements. Different applications are sending and receiving data over the network simultaneously. Unique header values allow TCP and UDP to manage these multiple simultaneous conversations when identifying these applications. These unique identifiers are the port numbers. Port numbers, usually seen in pairs, source port and destination port. Source port is dynamically chosen by the sender. Destination port is used to identify an application on the server. Socket pairs. Combination of source IP address and source port number, or the destination IP address and destination port number, is known as a socket. A socket is used to identify the server and service being requested by the client. Two sockets combine to form a socket pair. Sockets enable multiple processes running on a client while multiple connections to a server process to be distinguished from each other. Port number groups. The IANA has created three port number groups. Well-known ports 0 to 1023, registered ports 1024 to 49,151. Private inordinamic ports 49,152 to 65,535. The netstat command. The netstat allows a user to see active connections in a host. Netstat also displays the process using the connection. TCP and UDP. TCP communication process, TCP server processes. Each application process running on the server uses a port number. An individual server cannot have two services assigned to the same port number within the same transport layer service. An active server application assigned to a specific port is considered to be open. Any incoming client request addressed to an open port is accepted and processed by the server application bound to that port. There can be many ports open simultaneously on a server, one for each active server application. TCP connection establishment. A TCP connection is established in three steps. The initiating client requests a client-server communication session with the server. The server acknowledges the client-to-server communication session and requests a server-to-client communication session. The initiating client acknowledges the server-to-client communication session. TCP session termination. The fin TCP flag is to terminate the TCP connection. When the client has no more data to send in the stream, it sends a segment with the fin flag set. The server sends an ACK to acknowledge the receipt of the fin to terminate the session. From client to server. Server sends a fin to the client to terminate the server to client session. The client responds with an ACK to acknowledge the fin from the server. When all segments have been acknowledged, the session is closed. TCP three-way handshake analysis. Three-way handshake establishes that the destination device is present on the network, verifies that the destination device is an active service and is accepting requests on the destination port number that the initiating client intends to use, informs the destination device that the source client intends to establish a communication session on that port number. Reliability and flow control. TCP reliability, order delivery. TCP segments use sequence numbers to uniquely identify and acknowledge each segment, keep track of segment order, and indicate how to reassemble and reorder received segments. An initial sequence number, ISN, is randomly chosen during the TCP session setup. The ISN is then incremented by the number of transmitted bytes. The receiving TCP process buffers the segment data until all data is received and reassembled. Segments received out of order are held for later processing. The data is delivered to the application layer only when it has been completely received and reassembled. TCP flow control, window size, and acknowledgements. TCP provides mechanism for flow control. Flow control ensures that TCP endpoints can revive and process data reliably. TCP handles flow control by adjusting the rate of data flow between source and destination for a given session. TCP flow control function relies on a 16-bit TCP header field called the window size. The window size is the number of bytes the destination device of a TCP session can accept and process at one time. TCP source and destination agree on the initial window size when the TCP session is established. TCP endpoints can adjust the window size during a session if necessary. TCP flow control congestion avoidance. Network congestion usually results in discarded packets. Undelivered TCP segments trigger transmission. TCP segment retransmission can make the congestion even worse. The source can estimate a certain level of network congestion by looking at the rate at which TCP segments are sent but not acknowledged. The source can reduce the number of bytes it sends before receiving an acknowledgement upon congestion detection. The source reduces the number of unacknowledged bytes it sends and not the window size, which is determined by the destination. Destination is usually unaware of the network congestion and has no need to suggest a new window size. UDP low overhead versus reliability. UDP has much lower overhead than TCP. UDP is not connection oriented and does not offer sophisticated retransmission, sequencing, and flow control mechanism. Applications running UDP can still use reliability, but it must be implemented in the application layer. However, UDP is not inferior. UDP datagram assembly. UDP simply assembles the data in the order in which it was received. The application must identify the proper sequence if necessary. UDP server processes and requests. UDP-based server applications are also assigned well-known or registered port numbers. Requests received on a specific port are forwarded to the proper application based on port numbers. UDP client processes. UDP client server communication is also initiated by a client application. The UDP client process dynamically selects a port number and uses this as the source port. Destination port is usually the well-known or registered port number assigned to the server process. The same source destination pair of host ports is used in the header of all datagrams used in the transaction. Data returning to the client from the server use a flipped source and destination port numbers in the datagram header. Applications that use TCP. TCP handles all transport layer related tasks. This frees the application from having to manage any of these tasks. Application can simply send the data stream to the transport layer and use the services of TCP. Applications that use UDP. Live video and multimedia applications can tolerate some data loss but require little or no delay. Examples include VoIP and live streaming video. Simple request can reply applications. Applications with simple transactions where a host sends a request and may or may not receive a reply. Examples include DNS and DHCP. Applications that handle reliability themselves and in unidirectional communications where flow control, error detection, acknowledgements, and error recovery is not required or can be handled by the application. Examples include SNMP and TFTP. Summary. Implement an IPv4 addressing scheme to enable end-to-end connectivity in a small to medium-sized business network. Given a set of requirements, implement a VRSM addressing scheme to provide connectivity to end-users small to medium-sized network. Explain design consideration for summaries. These summaries for so for the summary of this chapter, the transport layer, we all know that we only focus with the UDP and the TCP transmission and how they differ from one another, and knowing that the TCP will transmit data loss, while the UDP doesn't. But still, the UDP is faster than the TCP protocol. It is faster because it still can because during the of transmissions of segments and packets, they the the UDP, despite on having more feature on transmitting lost data, it still focuses on getting every packet successfully and sending it to the from the host to destination. and how many applications that the TCP and the UDP use on each different sides. And that's it for the summary for chapter 9, the transport layer. And thank you for watching, and goodbye.